Should I get my life together or should I finish my story? AKA follow my dreams, right? I haven't looked at my story in over a month, and it's really been because of me deciding whether or not I should be handling responsibilities and prioritizing other things that are piling up in my life, or should I solely focus on pursuing my dreams, pursuing being an author and ignoring like everything else basically. And I think this is probably one of the hardest thing to navigate in your 20s. And I don't know if many people talked about this, but the uncertainty of pursuing your dreams. And there's a main reason why I wrote this down. Because when it comes to pursuing your dreams, right? It's not like there's a timeline of like, okay, if I start now, I'm gonna be where my dream life is gonna be like in like a year or two, right? Or 3 years or 4 years. You don't really know the timeline of when it's gonna happen. You just have to attack it every single day. And with that consistency, eventually you're going to reach to the point where your dreams do become a reality. But that uncertainty of pursuing that dreams and not knowing when exactly it's going to happen, like that desired outcome is going to happen, is what raised the question of whether or not you should try to get your life together. When I mean by getting your life together, I should like really define it. I really mean is taking care of responsibilities, as in like should you get a job to pay bills, right? Overcoming the economy currently, as of course prices rising and all that. And heck, a lot of us probably don't even have a job right now. So, like, should you stay unemployed and lock in and focus on pursuing your dreams, let's say being a writer, which is the case for me, right? Should that be the case? Should you just stay unemployed and lock in for that? Or should you give in to society's pressures and get your life together, get a job, stack up some bread, get some money? On paper, look like everything is put together, but of course, in reality, as you talk to more adults, not much people at all have their life together. So, really, the whole getting your life together is really a psyop. But yeah, speaking of pressure from your environment, right? I noticed, at least for myself, that it causes me to lose patience when it comes to achieving my dreams and reaching that outcome, right? It's worse when you're living with your parents and it's worse when you're unemployed. Because either way, that means you have issues that you need to solve. And if you don't solve it soon, then the pressure is going to increase over time. So, like for example, when you're living with your parents, you're dependent on them to pay certain bills like the rent and stuff. Like maybe you're paying for food and some stuff to take care of yourself, but your parents, for the most part, are paying the rent. The longer you delay getting a job or making some money so that you be able to move out for yourself, the more resentment, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the word I'm thinking about right now. The more resentment your parents is going to build towards you, the fact that they have to still take care of you in a sense, right? Even if it is just the rent portion. And then when we talk about being unemployed, right? Even if you're living by yourself, you have to think about how much savings you even have that you could last for with unemployment, as well as maybe even your parents are calling you like, yo, what's going on? Like, why don't you have a job by now? Like, things like that. Family, friends, anybody else, whoever is causing pressure. I notice that that's what makes me lose patience is like, man, I want to pursue my dreams. I want to make it, right? It is hard to focus. I think that's the best way to put it. It's hard to focus and concentrate when you just hear constant nagging from the outside that you need to get yourself together now, right? Like they make it so urgent to get it together now, and it's justifiable. I'm not saying they're wrong. It is justifiable, especially when if you're letting your parents know your plans, right? And your plans is pretty vague and you can't really give like a timeline or any sense of direction at all, then of course, like, yes, best case scenario, you want their support either way. And they probably do want to support you. But logically speaking, if you think about it in their perspective, right, you have no timeline. The direction is probably vague. You don't really fully know the bigger picture of what you really want to do. That uncertainty right there is what caused doubts in other people's minds. And that's what also makes it tough, like for myself, like as a writer and wanting to be an author, that takes a lot of patience, you know? Like, of course, I could probably publish a book in like a couple months, right? But I want to make a really, really good book. So I want to have multiple drafts, right? I want to make it so that when I publish it, for the most part, it has everything that I want in the story. Like, there's not parts in the story where I'm second guessing and I don't believe that it should be there. Like, I want to have that feeling that, like, everything I put in that story belongs in that story. And that takes a lot of patience. That takes a lot of rewriting, drafting. So currently, I don't have a timeline for when my story is going to be completed. Currently, right now, I have the first draft done, but I'm in the process of looking everything over so that I could start the process of the second draft. But while that's happening, I still have responsibilities, obligations, bills to pay. I still have a job to go to. And when you're in the moment, this is why I wrote this part down here. And when you're in the moment, like day to day, right? It could kind of feel like your dreams are slipping away because you're going to have certain days where you're just so busy. Because there are going to be certain days where you're so busy being an adult, honestly, that you don't really have time to do anything that you wanted to do when it comes to your dreams, right? So, yeah, if you're in a situation like me where you're just trying to decide between the two paths of whether or not I should actually get a job, take responsibility, pay bills, all of that? Or should I risk it all and follow my dreams and have that blind faith that it's all going to work out? So, what I did was this. I realized that it all stems from a lack of mental clarity of what is the right next step. Because we're in between these two paths, or at least we think it's two separate paths. But what if it's not? You ever thought of that? Like, what if it's not two paths you have to choose? What if they could be aligned? And what if they could work together? And once I started thinking like that, that's when it unlocked for me. That's when I realized I can do both. It don't have to be either or either. Maybe I prioritize one of them at the moment, but it doesn't mean that I have to completely ignore the other. So the first thing I did was notice that I had lack of clarity of what I want to prioritize and understanding what is the next step. So the main thing I did was figure out what is the biggest constraint in my life. Yeah, the main thing I want to show you is this video right here I made like 7 months ago. I can't believe it's been that long ago. If you haven't watched it, watch it after this video because I think it's like one of my best work. But what I was basically trying to say in this video is the fact that when you have too many thoughts, too many responsibilities, your energy is spread too much into too many different things, and that leads to exhaustion. And that's the reason why you can't really focus on, or I should say, you can't really make progress in whatever you're trying to do, is because you're trying to make progress in like 50 different things at the same time. And essentially, you want it to where you only have a few things that you need to focus on. And that's how you really make progress towards your goals and what you're trying to do. And essentially, with everything else, I was trying to say here, is you want to like delegate, maintain, or let go. Because the statement is true, like less is more. And the less you have to focus on, the more you could achieve with the things you do focus on. So, what is your biggest constraint? Is it that you don't have enough time for your story? Is it because you're in a stressful job? Is it because of your family taking too much time? Is it your friends taking too much of your time? Is it your partner taking too much of your time? Is it distractions, video games, TV, whatever? Whatever's taking up a lot of your time, a lot of your energy. And then, of course, there's probably multiple things, but whatever is taking the most, like what's in your mind the most that is like mentally fatiguing you? And that answer should probably come up right away, or at least your top three should come up right away. Like whatever pop into your mind first is probably the one. But yeah, but once you figure that out, make that the focus. Figure out how to overcome that. And once you figure that out, make that the focus. Overcome that constraint. Because once you do that, you will have more time for other things. So, like, for example, of myself, my biggest constraint was my job. I was super stressed out and I was underpaid. And you know what I did? I went to HR and asked if there was any other positions available. And you know what happened? I did the internal interview, and then 2 weeks later, I was in a new position, which pays a little bit more. And so far, it's been a little bit less stressful just because maybe because I'm in training right now. But with that, with me not having to think as much about what I'm going to do with my job situation, it gives me more time, more clarity to think about what I want to do with my story. Let's say, I have more brain power, or I could spend more time focusing on that than fixing up my resume, fixing up cover letters, trying to apply to places, doing interviews. That one move alone freed up a lot of time for me. So that's why I put right here that temporary sacrifice might be necessary in order to achieve your goals, right? Like you don't have to achieve your goals today. Just make sure that somewhere in the timeline you will make it. That's all you need to remind yourself. You will make it some way, somehow down in the timeline as long as you don't give up. So analyze your current situation. What is your biggest constraint? What's taking up most of your time, most of your brain power? And figure out ways to overcome it or become less of a constraint for you. 'Cause seriously, once you do that, that's how you have more time for your dreams, for your goals. And what I mean by aligning earlier, when I mentioned between getting your life together and finishing up my story, I'm using my job to make sure I have enough money to do like publishing, marketing, things like that. I probably wouldn't have a chance of putting a lot of money into those type of things if I didn't have a job, right? So it's all about figuring out how you could align certain things with your overall lifestyle that you want in the end. How can it work together? How can it support you? But sure, it sucks right now. But if you truly think about it, there's leverage in everything you do. So never stop thinking about what you're doing today can lead you to the life you want tomorrow. Never stop thinking about that, regardless of what you're doing. So, yes, it might be uncertainty towards your dreams and when it's going to happen. Yes, there's a lot of bills to be paid. Economy is bad. The job market is bad. Yes, at times it might feel like your dreams is slipping away when you try to get your life together and ignoring your goals, right? These are all true, but they're only overwhelming when you see them all at once. That's why you need to focus on one at a time. What is the biggest constraint? Like, what is the biggest obstacle? Figure that out and then tackle things one at a time. I remember back when before I even got my job, my biggest constraint was I didn't have a job at all. And because I was living with my mom, like, of course, she would put pressure on me to get my life together and making sure I could pay my bills. So honestly, during that time, I actually made more progress towards my dreams when I actually got a job, just because I didn't have to think about constantly about my mother coming to me and asking me about what I'm current plan is and what I'm doing. Since those thoughts was released from my mental capacity, it allowed more ideas to generate for my story to come in. So yeah, that's just a new perspective or a different perspective that you should think about when it comes to whether or not should I get my life together or should you finish your story if you're a writer or whatever your dreams are. What is my biggest constraint and how can I free up my time so that I could pursue my goals regardless of the responsibilities I have? Always plan to win. Don't plan not to lose. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but if you know, you know. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think I was a little bit all over the place at some parts of the video, but hopefully you understand the main concept I was trying to explain to you. If you are a writer and you want feedback on your outline so that you feel more confident to start your first draft, you could also click the link down below. That would take you to a consultation call where you could meet with me, and then I will review your story, of course, your outline. I do suggestions, I give you feedback, I give you ideas, I give you a reader's perspective of how I feel about your story. So yeah, if you want to do that, you could click the link down below. Also, we're gonna have a video here or there explaining my process when it comes to me reading over your outline and how I will work together with you. So yeah, you could do that, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.